Sam. I'm the co-founder of Kingdom Impact Lab and the developer of the L.I.G.H.T framework, and in this video I'm going to explain what L.I.G.H.T is, along with the main problem it solves and the opportunity that people have by applying L.I.G.H.T in their business. So let me start off by explaining what L.I.G.H.T is. L.I.G.H.T is a system that turns your Christian values into daily actions that align with your eternal vision of who you are becoming as a Christian and your business vision, while helping you apply your Christ-like faith into your daily decisions, both within your company internally and externally through your sales and marketing, and how you operate within your business, so you can prioritize stewarding your resources, influence and relationships in a way that has a positive kingdom impact over the long term. That is the 20,000 foot view of what L.I.G.H.T is. L.I.G.H.T is an acronym that stands for love, integrity, gratitude, humble service and transformative excellence. Each of these characteristics directly align with what it means to pursue Christ-likeness, and the goal of L.I.G.H.T is to help you to view every single decision you make, every single interaction you have, through the lens of pursuing Christ-likeness, through the lens of staying consistent and aligned with your faith in a business world and marketplace that is dominated by transactional thinking, that's dominated by hitting financial targets, hitting revenue targets. As we all know, that in business, the two most important targets and metrics and things that you want to aim for are the bottom line and your revenue and profit margins. That's it. And as Christians, what is a typical problem is we would go to church on Sunday and we would subsequently enter the church, enter the sanctuary, and we are transformed. We are speaking to people, we are interacting with people, we are connecting with people. We treat each person within the church like our brother and sister. If anyone in the church asked for help on a Sunday, we probably would give it. And we in church, we would not interact with other people in attendance, and the first thing we would do is try to trick them into thinking they're talking to us, when in actual fact they are talking to an AI bot. We wouldn't expect to see a AI generated video of a pastor on a big screen in the church preaching using a script generated by AI. We would expect to see a real person, a real pastor, a reverend, whatever it is in your denomination, standing there teaching us, connecting with us. Whenever we have a connection with the pastors or leaders or elders in the church, we go into the interaction expecting it to be meaningful, genuine, human. We expect the person we're interacting with to actually care about us, and not just go in there and speaking to one of the church elders and you get the impression that they're just being a little bit fake, they're being a little bit let's say generous with the words and language that they use, and a little bit, you know, in terms of a little bit of flattery, because what they actually want in return is for you to donate to their church or donate to some cause or whatever it is that they're doing. Of course not. We would expect the church elder or pastor or whoever we speak to at the church to have integrity and consistency in what they do. But yet, the moment that we step outside the secular transactional culture that's dominated by materialism, consumerism, and all of other isms that are not particularly great, it fills the world, and they subtly influence the way that we act, the way that we decide, the way that we do things. And unfortunately, we make decisions that align with the external forces, and that's how, over longer periods of time, these tiny, seemingly insignificant decisions all add up, grow, accumulate, compound, snowball, bigger, until eventually we kind of reach a point where we have the symptoms of misalignment, which would be burnout. You have an underlying level of stress that you can't, like a generalized stress that you can't pinpoint what the problem is. You find that your relationships are hollow, you feel lonely despite having a lot of people around you, and you feel like the work that you do lack meaning and purpose. And all of these are symptoms of the person who you are in here, the person that you are as created in the image of God is not the person that your actions would betray you to be. And that's what causes a lot of problems. And one of the reasons for this is that it's difficult. It's difficult to pursue Christ-likeness in the marketplace, in the business world, because most people don't know how. One of the challenges that I experienced was you attend a sermon, you attend a church, you listen to a preacher, and what they're telling you a lot of the time is very theological. It lacks practicality. They give you big concepts, and you don't really, for me, I don't really understand how to apply them unless I go away and think about them for a while, which is difficult when you have young kids and other things to do in your life. And I understand that a lot of people can't do this. And so this is kind of where Light was born from, to basically create a system, a framework, a repeatable structure that we can do and that we can implement in our lives in the present moment, to make sure that the decisions that we make, that we are prioritizing the pursuit of Christ-likeness above the other pulls and things that are influencing us at the same time. And why is this important? This is important because, as Carl Jung said, Carl Jung was a very famous psychologist. He said that whatever you put as your highest order aim will become your God, whether you are aware of it or not. And we also see in scripture that you cannot serve two masters, you cannot serve God and money. And both of these quotes that I've just given you, one from a atheist secular psychologist and one from the Bible, basically explain the same concept, which is so important to discuss and to apply, because this concept here is the reason why we drift. It's the reason why we have a lot of problems. It's the reason why, if you look in the Bible, that there's so many examples of, take King Solomon, that he was the wisest king of all. When he inherited the throne and the kingdom of Israel from his father, King David, he then prayed and submitted himself and surrendered to God and asked for wisdom, because he had the humility to realize that he did not have the worldly power to rule the Israelites. And then you look at how his life deteriorated towards the end of his life, with various issues. You can also, it's common. It's a common story in the Bible, and it's a common story that we see all around us, that you start off anchored, but as time goes on, you drift, and eventually you just fall off a cliff, and all kinds of problems happen. And the reason for this is it's what you put as the most important, your highest goal, the purpose that you want to pursue above everything else. I learned about this concept from Jordan Peterson after studying a lot of his work, and it's if you make God your highest order aim, and you do things to honour and glorify God, and you do it with the right intention, you will find that you will achieve your business targets as a byproduct of pursuing Christ-likeness in what you do. If you don't prioritise the pursuit of Christ-likeness in what you do, then over time, most certainly you will find that money and your business KPIs will become your highest order priority. As I mentioned earlier, we all know that the most important targets within any business is the bottom line and the profit margins. And this is especially the case when businesses get bigger and bigger, or when publicly traded companies and there's other stakeholders and shareholders involved in the decisions, because everyone's involved in the business in order to make money and not to have impact or influence. And so what is a common trend in businesses, at least it's a common trend and a common theme that I have personally seen through research and studying, and in many ways my own experience, but not at the same scale as what I'm talking about, is that you'll find that in the early stages of a company, in the startup stage, in the building stage, that the founder is heavily motivated by their why, the reason behind the business, and then they have the systems in place, they systematize things, they start to generate revenue, they start to grow, they have teams in place, and they have managers that operate the systems. And so you might have someone in charge of a marketing system, you might have someone in charge of a sales system, you'll have someone in charge of the servicing your clients or the delivery or whatever it is system. And each of these heads of the departments are responsible for hitting certain KPIs and certain targets, and they have quarterly targets. And so all of a sudden, everything in the business drifts away from what the real reason, the mission, the idea behind what you want to do is, assuming it was not entirely built for the reason of making money. And all of a sudden, you'll find that you're no longer pursuing the mission because you are prioritizing hitting the company targets over everything else. And as Carl Jung said, that whatever is your most important aim, whatever it is the thing that you're focusing on the most, becomes your God, whether you're aware of it or not. And what that leads to is transactional decisions. It leads to treating people like commodities. It leads to doing things for the sake of efficiency and automation that would remove humanness and human connection from the way that you are operating business and what you're doing. And this is especially problematic with the explosion of AI and the direction that we are almost certainly heading down, where everything is going to be done by AI agents. AI generated this, AI generated that, and you will not be able to have any kind of real human interaction, human connection, which is something that we humans crave for the most. So it's becoming a big problem, and that's what's going to happen, because if you're in a situation where one of your heads of department suggests that you automate the entire onboarding process or automate this entire system, or just an example I saw on LinkedIn recently is someone made a post that said that they now have an AI agent that would do the work of a social media agency that you'd charge $5,000 for before. And for me, I inherently had a problem with that post. Not with the person that posted it, not with the people that are doing it, but with the concept and the direction that we are actually heading in terms of culture, society, business, the way that we're thinking, the way that we're interacting. And the problem that I had was how do I say this? So I use AI all the time. I don't see anything wrong with using AI as a tool. I use it for research. I use it for pattern recognition in notes. I use it to give me fresh perspectives. Most importantly, I use it to help clarify my thinking and look for reasons why my ideas won't work, where the holes are, what the objections are, what the problems are. Nothing wrong with that. What is a problem would be that if you use an AI agent to essentially create social media posts, which is the way that your business, one of the ways that your business would interact with the public, with the rest of the world. Your social media is one area of your business and your life where you do have influence. And if you have influence, you have a decision to make, whether you make the decision consciously or not, to steward the influence that you have in a way that aligns with truth, that aligns with the world, that aligns with God, kingdom impact, the greater good, whatever it is that you want to do, something that is transcendent, something that will anchor you, something that is universal, timeless, eternal, something that is the same now as it was 2,000 years ago and will be in 2,000 years in the future. You have an opportunity to steward your influence in a way that will positively impact the people that are interacting with your posts, rather than doing things purely to boost engagement and algorithmic stuff. You have a decision and a choice. A choice is a better word. You have a choice whether you want to try to connect with people and treat people as humans made in the image of God. Each person has a unique gift. A lot of people are struggling, a lot of people are suffering out there silently, a lot of people are lonely. You have an opportunity to shine a light in their lives, have a positive influence, make their day better. Or you can use an AI agent like the post that I saw, which would essentially, the way that I would understand how this would work is that the AI agent would use algorithms to determine which content you create generates the best results that are aligned with your business goals, and it would then produce more and more posts based on the ones that performed the best. And so the way that I understood how he was proposing this service with this agent, which I assume would be a subscription-based thing, is that you would run this AI agent that would create content based on the way that humans interact with it, and the ones with the most engagement or the most shares or the most addictiveness, whatever you want to call it, it would generate more of them, and then that would be kind of self-perpetuating. In other words, none of the content that would be created would be made by a human. It would have no ideas generated by a human, and it would be designed purely to manipulate algorithms and manipulate people's attentions and actions in order to get them to buy something or take the next step in the business. And that to me is a problem. This to me is an issue that we are currently facing, where there's people like John Lennox, for example, who is an Oxford professor. He's quite advanced in age, he's written countless books, exceptionally knowledgeable in philosophy, theology, science. He's a mathematician, and he believes that AI is essentially going to become a new god, which I also think is true if we are not careful. And this is one way that without our awareness, that it's actually creeping in and taking us away from our faith under the guise of efficiency, automation and productivity. Another concept as well to mention here is that Os Guinness, who is part of the Guinness family, he's also written multiple books. In his book, The Call, he mentioned that the biggest threat for Christianity today is not the trend towards one world governments, digital. Well, this is my extrapolation interpretation of what he said, because I don't have the quote with me. But it is the movement towards global governments, globalism, one world governments, totalitarianism, the rise of communism, and of course AI as a surveillance tool, and the way that it's going to take humans out of all interactions. And in the book, it was saying that the concepts here that I've just mentioned, which I extrapolated from what he wrote, are the biggest threat that the church has faced ever, more than anything in the past. And we have an obligation and a duty to do something about it, to resist it. We have to resist it in order to preserve the truth, in order to preserve and spread the gospel, and to spread Jesus to more people. If anything, just for the sake of humanity, because, well, the gospel and the Bible has been around for 2,000 years. Well, okay, 1,900 years, to be a bit more precise. And if you look at some of the earliest parts of the scrolls that they found, the fragments of the early scrolls, it is exactly as close as possible as you can get, with minor variances. The meaning remains the same in the old scrolls that they found to what's written in the Bible to date. It's the same. It's that eternal truth, that eternal anchor, and we're at risk of drifting substantially through relativism because there is no anchor. And again, if there is no anchor, then other things become God, which then would be fueled by other self-interests, which typically is greed, power and money. Anyway, let me go back to what my points are here. And so that is essentially the reasons behind why I developed L.I.G.H.T. It's a system where we can practically apply our Christian values into the day-to-day decisions that we make, so that we are always prioritizing God, kingdom impact, or simply doing things for the benefit of others rather than for the benefit of our own selfish interests. L.I.G.H.T. is a system so we can prioritize helping, supporting, serving others over serving ourselves and hitting our own KPIs. L.I.G.H.T. is a system that will allow us to make decisions based on sacrificial love, which is anchored in biblical sacrificial love, and also to have the full knowledge and confidence that by doing so, we are going to increase our business and grow over the long term as well. It's having that faith and that confidence that by doing the right thing now, in the present moment, even if other people are pulling you away from it or other influences are trying to direct you somewhere else, that you have faith and confidence that what you are doing is the right thing. It aligns with your values, you have integrity, you are aligned with who you're becoming in the pursuit of Christ-likeness, and you can then view all of the gifts that you have in your life as something to steward for the benefit of others. And the reason is because I once heard a pastor say that people don't read the Bible. Pre-believers don't read the Bible. A lot of Christians don't read the Bible. But our obligation, therefore, is to reflect Jesus in the way that we behave and act. And people will notice it. People will notice that there's something different about you. They will be naturally drawn towards you. They will want to know what's different about you. And that is the outcome on a personal level of what will happen through the pursuit of Christ-likeness and by applying light in your decision making within your business and through your marketing. And what my vision behind it is to be able to help businesses implement light into their own lives, into their own businesses, so they can shine by stewarding their influence, which would then positively impact and influence others as well. And this is one of the reasons why I'm specifically targeting Christian business owners. And it's because if I can help, so in the past when I was working with clients, that I often send emails out to 50,000, 60,000 people for each email, and we actually sent a daily email out. And so even with conservative email open rates, 10,000 people were reading the message per day. And back then I was optimizing the emails that I wrote in order to apply direct response copywriting, which is what my background is in, which is every word, phrase, sentence, paragraph matters, because you're trying to get someone to take the next step, the next step, the next step. And so in the emails, the next step was always to click the link to book a call, because we knew that on average, for every 4 people that book a call with this particular client, as an example, that one person would buy their $5,000 offer. And so my entire goal was to, okay, so let's see if I can get you 30 additional book calls per month, which would then generate you between 7 and 8 sales, which would generate you an extra $40,000 a month at a minimum. And then if you want to scale that up over the course of a year, 40,000 a month at a minimum over the year is $500,000 in additional revenue that you otherwise wouldn't have made. And that is basically the way that I used to do things. And so 10,000 people or so would be reading the emails each day. And everything I wrote was intentionally designed to get people to book a call. Yeah, I was providing value. Yes, I was helping them. Yes, I was trying to identify and solve what their specific problems were. But my only intention was, I'm going to put all of this stuff in the email in order to get you to click the link and to book a call. And that's what it is. My primary focus was to get people to click a link, to then book a call and to schedule a time to have the call. Everything else was secondary. And as such, for me, I would not admit it at the time, absolutely not. But I can reflect back now and see it a little bit more clearly, is that everything, if my only goal was to get people to click a link, to book a call, to make a sale, whether they were the right person for the client's offer or not was irrelevant. All that mattered was the number of book calls, and then trust that the sales team would convert based on their historical average conversion rates. It felt manipulative. There was no integrity. Of course there was no integrity, because I'm saying things intentionally to get you to take an action that I want you to take. And that action ultimately ends up in you parting your money for a program. And that was essentially it. Now, in hindsight, if I was in a situation like that again, what Light would allow me to do would be to write the emails with the intention of having a positive impact on the recipient. It would be with the intention of making their day better as a result of reading my email and reading the content. It would be to ask people to respond to emails because I genuinely wanted to hear their response, so that then I could use my team to provide support to anyone that would need it, whatever that would look like. I'm not sure, that would be defined and discussed later. Rather than asking people to reply because I wanted to boost the algorithm. The contrast is clear. Before, everything I did was self-serving in order to help a client who was self-serving, and their only goals was to make money. The after, what I would do now instead, is based on sacrificial love anchored in biblical truth. And why is this important? The reason it's important is because what I found to happen time and time again with clients, and in so many different things, it appears to be a universal pattern of life. And that is that you start off doing something, it takes a long time to get that base level. And then all of a sudden things start to grow up, and you start to get momentum. And you start to get momentum as things start to compound and accumulate. And when all of a sudden it plateaus, and then it starts to dip off. And that was the same with the daily emails that I used to introduce to clients. The first phase, in the build-up phase, would be increasing the frequency of communication from either 0 or once a month or intermittently to a regular communication, and then slowly would increase the frequency, and then monitor what people responded best to, and the positive feedback we got from people, and do more of that and do less of the others. And I had a system in place to optimize it all up. And then with one client, what we found was over the course of 3 months, if I remember correctly, we would have, I think, 1 month was 45 book calls, 1 month was 50, 1 month was 60, and the next month was 60 book calls. And again, so what we look at there is, let's say, as for numbers' sake, let's say an average of 200 book calls over the course of a month, 25% conversion rate, so that'd be 50 sales we'd make over 4 months. That'd be about $250,000 over the course of 4 months. And all of a sudden after that, we noticed it would drop off. And then it would start to plateau. And then we would get a substantially less baseline of book calls. Unless I came out with another brilliant idea, is what I used to call them, in order to reposition things or have a better way to incite people to join the offer. And that was a common trend that we had. And then essentially I'd run out of ideas, and then ideas in terms of content, so it's not being repetitive, because having to come up with different emails and things that would align with the direction the business is going, and in a way that you have to make the journey from when they first interact with a business to actually becoming a client, and then after becoming a client, as smooth as possible, which is kind of hard when the business is having different ideas and different things to integrate. But the point being that I found multiple times that we had a few good months and then things plateaued and then dropped off. My hypothesis is that by applying the L.I.G.H.T framework and operating on biblical love, that I wouldn't say we're going to solve this problem, but by creating content which Seth Godin's concept of remarkable content, which would be something worth remarking about, which One way would be to actually genuinely care about people and do things out of biblical love, which is self-sacrificial, in order to help people. You would have to have faith that over the long term that your business will have tangible business outcomes that would far surpass what you thought was possible. And I'm very confident that that's what's going to happen. And that's why I'm applying it myself in Kingdom Impact Lab, which is hard when you have no revenue in the business. You're relying on your savings. Your savings have all run out because you keep investing in the business, and then you're now sort of selling your retirement funds in order to fund the business. But you have to have the faith that it's going to pay off in the long term, because, well, I won't go into the details. I've gone on way too long in this video, but fortunately nobody is going to be watching this video, especially not to the end, and the only purpose for me to record it now is because I want to speak out, talk about my ideas, to get clarity in my own mind. But if anybody is watching, just a quick summary of what it is. L.I.G.H.T is a system to integrate your Christian values into your daily decisions. So every decision you make within your company and within your marketing and sales and the way you operate will all be aligned with your faith. This helps you to resist the transactional pressures, so you can prioritize doing things. You can make God the ultimate thing that you are pursuing and you want to do things for. Everything else will be secondary. And by doing so, you will be planting seeds in pre-believers, you'll be planting seeds and inspiring people within your sphere of influence in ways that you would not imagine. And as a byproduct of this, it's going to lead to tangible business outcomes, which would essentially give you more consistent revenue over the long term, which would be because you have stronger trust-based relationships, and this is going to lead to higher quality revenue in your business, like repeat purchases. Especially good if you have a high ticket offer, because acquisition costs are high. You've got to pay your sales team the commission. If you have some kind of a continuity offer, you've already paid your acquisition costs, you've already paid your sales commission. All you have to do at the end of your first program, whether it's monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever it is you simply invite people if they want to join again for a second year, and a percentage of them will say yes, especially if the relationship is there. You'll have higher lifetime value as a result of this, because people buy from those they know, like, and trust. You are then also going to get more referrals and introductions as a way of doing it. Okay, that's all. If anyone's watching, which I don't think there is, I'll see you next time.